again, friends. I'm very glad to see you here for the 8th lesson. I hope that you're rested and that you've had a snack so that your energy for this lesson is up, since this lesson is a little bit longer than the others. Before we get started, let's review a couple of points from lessons 6 and 7. Everything you do comes from the choices you make. If you do something, you chose to do it. Nobody else made you do it because they don't have that power. I'm the same way. So are your teachers and parents. We each choose what we do. The most wonderful choice you can ever make is the choice to make better choices. So if the choices you have been making have been causing problems, you can decide right now or at any time to start making new and different choices to have fewer problems from now on. Now, let's review the affirmation presented at the end of the last lesson. Because you were asked to repeat it to yourself several times, I'm sure it's still familiar to you and maybe you can remember it exactly. I can choose well all of the time, even when nobody is watching. Remember that repeating the affirmations to yourself between lessons is important, so don't skip this step. If you should forget the affirmation, look in your student guidebook. They are all listed in there for you to review anytime. Okay then, lesson 8. Here we go. It took people, like me, a long time, but we have finally discovered some wicked little things that can lead smart people into problems. I call these things thoughts in knots. Calling them thoughts in knots helps me understand what's going on up here when I make a poor choice or a bad decision. Knots in the brain are a lot like viruses in a computer. They make the data very tangled up and messy. Before your brain computer can work right again, you have to clean them out. Some of our thoughts can get tangled up like a knot, and then they make our thinking very confused. Thoughts in knots cause problems for us because we need quick and clear information when we're making choices, not confused and messy information. And if there is a thought in a knot when we're trying to make a decision or a choice, it can tell us confusing or messy information. To understand how thoughts in knots work, let's talk about computer devices for a minute. As you know, computers and smartphones have programs or apps that do something helpful for the user of the device. The apps quickly tell us or show us information we want so that we can quickly make choices and decisions about whatever it is we want to do. For instance, my phone has a clock and a calendar in the corner. That's a simple app. And when I want to know what day it is or what time it is, I'm glad that the app is there to tell me. But sometimes the data in an app gets tangled up in a knot, and then it gives slow or confusing information. If it does that, we can't make the best choices about what we want to do. We don't really understand. If the clock on my phone tells me the wrong time, and I think it is the right time, then it is probably going to cause me a problem because I'll be late for something, it may be something important, and I might get angry or upset. But once I realize that the clock app on my device has its data tangled up in a knot, and that it's telling me confused and messy information, then I need to run some kind of a cleanup program to fix the problem. Your computer has cleanup programs, and so do you. Your brain's tangled up thoughts, your thoughts in knots, and we all get them, can be cleaned out fairly easily. These knots can only cause problems for you when you don't notice that they're there. Just like if I didn't know the clock on my device was wrong. Once you become aware of a thought in a knot, you can run your own cleanup program and get rid of it. Your human cleanup program can only run when your heart and your brain work together. That's why we do the affirmations, to give the brain and the heart practice communicating with each other. If they don't share information, then you can't load and run your cleanup program. So, there are two questions we have to answer. Number one, how do you know when you have a tangled up thought in a knot? And number two, how do you run the cleanup program when you think you have a knot? The answer to question 2 is really quick and simple. But let's answer question number 1 first. It's really pretty obvious when a knot is in your thinking. When you get upset, does it happen quickly? If you very quickly get upset by things, then you probably have some thoughts in knots. For instance, when I'm riding my bike and I hear someone on the street honking their horn behind me, I have many ways of thinking about that. One way would be to think that they are being unfair and want me to just get out of their way. Another way would be to think that maybe they recognize me and they want to say hello as they pass by. Maybe that's why they are honking. Or maybe it's just for safety. They want me to know that they are close and hope I don't bump into them without noticing that they're there. They don't want me to get hurt. So in this one example of a honking horn, there are 3 ways I could see it: as unfair, as friendly, or as cautious. I have to decide, are they saying, get out of the way, hello, or please don't bump into me? I don't really know at first, but if there is a knot in my brain, it will always take my thoughts to the most upsetting possibility first. The tangled and confused thoughts that I call knots make me do that. If I have a knot and someone is honking, then I'll say to myself, they are being unfair and unkind and expect me to get out of their way. I'll get upset, and I'll just ignore the possibility that they are trying to be friendly or safe. Quick upset is a very helpful sign because it tells you that you probably have a knot or two in your brain that needs to be cleaned out. A person who has no knot chooses the comfortable answer first. They know that the horn honker might be behaving in an unkind way. That might be true. But because unkind behavior is more uncomfortable, it won't be their first idea. So, a person with a thought in a knot always thinks the hardest and most uncomfortable thought first. And a person without a knot always thinks an easier and more comfortable thought first. Please remember that statement. Your mentor will ask you to explain it. We are not done with video lesson 8, but I want you to pause the video lesson now and take a 5-minute break before we continue. Go ahead and hit the pause button and come back in a few minutes. Thanks for taking a break. That should make it a little easier to go through the last few minutes of this lesson. Before the break, we were saying that some people think comfortable thoughts and some people think uncomfortable thoughts. This happens a lot in the hallways, the lunchroom, and out on the field at recess time. Maybe someone bumps into you, or makes a joke, or disagrees with you. If you have any knots in your thinking, you will always choose the hardest and most uncomfortable possibility first. And then, of course, you'll get upset immediately. People without any knots think that probably when that person bumped into you, it was an accident. When they made a joke, they were hoping you'd laugh at it too. Or when they disagreed with you, they were hoping you'd help them figure out the situation. But if someone bumps into you and you quickly get upset and think, he did that on purpose, you probably have a brain knot that needs to be cleaned out. If someone tells a joke and you right away think, they're making fun of me, you probably have a knot in your thinking that needs to be told to clean out. If someone disagrees with you and you immediately think, he's saying I'm not intelligent, then you probably have a knot telling you that, and it needs to be cleaned. Yes, as you know, other people sometimes are being unfair and unkind, but thoughts in knots don't even give you a chance to wonder about that. They make you get upset quickly. Unfortunately, getting upset helps us to make bad choices. So, 1, how do you know when you have a tangled up thought in a knot? Now you know that the answer to that is all about getting upset too quickly and easily. That's the sign. So let's answer question number 2. How do you run the cleanup program when you think you have a knot? The answer to number 2 is really simple. It's easy to get rid of brain knots. All you have to do is notice that they're in there and strongly tell them to leave. When you say something like, knots, get out, and then say my next affirmation, then your brain and heart will share information and the cleanup program will run. I'll demonstrate. If something has happened and I am upset and uncomfortable, I can go somewhere by myself for a moment and say, knots, get out. The world wants to be fair and kind to me too. That's it. But you'll have to run your cleanup program often, because for a while, the knots will try to tangle right back up. Here's what today's lesson is all about. The message I'm trying to share with you today. Other people are usually not trying to challenge you, not trying to anger you, and not trying to make you feel stupid or embarrassed. Sometimes they are trying to do that, unfortunately. But you've got to get rid of the knots, or you will never really know. You'll always get upset easily, and that will lead you to making bad choices. If you figure out later on that someone was being unfair or unkind to you, you'll have to decide what to do about that. But at least you didn't get upset so quickly that you made a bad choice and did something that you wish you had not done, or that your teachers and parents wish you had not done. Before you go now to take the quiz, I want you to read the new affirmation out loud and repeat it to yourself several times today and tomorrow. The world wants to be fair and kind to me too. This is just about the end of Lesson 8. Just like you did at the end of each previous lesson, you should now take the quiz and contact your mentor to let him know that you finished the lesson and are ready to talk about all of the information. I'll see you next time for lesson number 9.